The year is 111 AD, and the Book of Han has just been completed in China. Within this ancient tome is the mention of a mysterious, mountainous, faraway land known as Japan. Japan is a land of fortune. Japan is exotic. My voice sounds like shit because I just woke up. Japan brings new wonders to the ancient world. Among other treasures, Japan offers Pocky. Japan offers anime. Japan offers street racing. In return for these gracious gifts, the rest of the world offered Japan Buddhism. About 451 years later, in Buddhism lies a powerful symbol known as the Taijitsu. The Taijitsu is a symbol of balance, represented by a spear with two opposite halves. These two halves represent equal opposite opposing forces, competing for supremacy, and only in this struggle is there equilibrium. Within equilibrium, we find peace. Japan was unruly, rampant in their worship of anime. People would spend days Naruto running up to Mount Fuji, and no work was being completed. With the introduction of chibis, the final step towards disaster was made, and thus the otaku were born. Value was soon determined by such meaningless factors as how kawaii desu you were, or how wide your Tokyo drift. If power continued to be unestablished, Japan would barrel towards self-immolation in one massive sacrifice. The people needed militaristic rule. Within this necessity, the shogun was formed. Many otaku would not settle for their new leadership, so they began forming the ultimate combatant to their dictators. A creature so evil, so kawaii, the shogun would have no other option than to enter into a battle that would span a millennia. Neko, Spanish for cat, this creature isn't only a cat, however, it is also part human, except for when it isn't. And it only has human-like qualities, except for when it doesn't. Finally, we have achieved equilibrium. A taijitsu with two sides of full power. Dude, I fucking hate voiceovers so goddamn bad. Finally, we have achieved equilibrium. A taijitsu with two sides full of power competing for supremacy. Shogun on one half, trying to enforce rule over an unruly land, attempting to carry on traditions, and Nekopara on the other half. But wait, I hear you asking, Neko versus Nekopara? What is this? The Neko is an unrefined form, you see. The Neko is potential emitting, but with no means of withholding that potential and honing it. A Nekopara, Neko, cat, as we established, Para, ES M249 machine gun, is part cat, part human, part cat human, not human at all, and also gun. Thus, the Taijitsu is complete. Nekopara Volume 4 is the long-awaited follow-up to Nekopara Volume 3. Developed by Neko Works, Nekopara Volume 4 released a swift 3 years after its predecessor, and it shows. The writing in this game, there's about 3 years worth of writing, and not all of it's well thought out. In Nekopara Volume 4, you possess a young male, age unknown, named Cashew, who I've called Cashew, and a band with your merry brothel of titty kitty, indentured servants if you will, you set off across Japan to do something. I am not going to lie to you. I didn't pay too much attention to the story on my playthroughs. I was more distracted by other things. Mostly how quickly I could vibrate my fingers atop the control keys on my keyboard. You see, in Nekopara Volume 4, all you do is press 1, but 10. There are actually 3 buttons you can press, but only one is essential for 100% completing the game. Shortly after my playthroughs, I attempted to speedrun the game and set a world record. I was disappointed to find this task more daunting than initially perceived. My personal best is 9 minutes 2 seconds and is only 3 minutes and 57 seconds slower than the current world record. I won't lie to you, I was curious, and I wanted to know more about the mysterious form of Nekos. I did some digging. God, I wish I didn't. But alas, here's what I found. Chicola and her twin Vanilla are only 9 months old. Now I understand. These are just cat ages, right? And surely cats, much like dogs, age quicker than humans in the same amount of time. And yes, you'd be right to assume that. I had to be sure of this myself, and I found several sources that suggest that within 1 human year, a cat ages about 15, and 25 inside of 2. So if we take 15 and multiply that by 9 months, there are 9 months in a year. That's not true. There are actually 9 months. I wrote this like an idiot. So if we take 15 and multiply that by 9 months, well, there are 12 months in a year, so 9 divided by 12 is 0.75. 15 times 0.75 is 11. Oh, maybe it scales differently. So I found some charts. This chart right here suggests it's 13 or 14 or... This one says less than 7, so we don't like that. Yeah. Sorry to say, lads. If you find yourself attracted to these two cat girls, you should consider yourself bolstering your soap-holding abilities. Those are just 2 of the 6 cat girls in this game, so surely the other well-established characters could offer you some other fictions, right? I was curious about that too, because this rabbit hole, it just keeps getting deeper. Cinnamon and Maple are 2 other cat girls one could fantasize about, and they're both 2! So that puts them at a generally agreed upon age of 24. So neat. You can find yourself a fresh out of college cat girl, or maybe you're more into cougars. Well, if that's the case, then I've got the Neko for you. Meet Azuki. And no, I don't give a shit if I mispronounce that. She's a sage mentor for Cinnamon, and behind her tough exterior is probably additional layers of titties. And at 3 years of age, she's practically ready to settle down, marry, and subscribe to AARP. No, those aren't the cat girls of your dreams. There's one other one you're interested in. No, guys, come on. That's right. Coconut is the 3rd youngest of the initial 6 cat girls, and at a heartbreakingly young age of just 1 year old. This seems to be the most contested bit of information in the fandom, but numbers speak for themselves. She's 15, and you're fucking gross. Now surely none of this matters, right? I mean, yes, they are big-breasted, underaged cartoon characters, and although weird and mildly disturbing, there isn't anything really wrong about that. Again, always an astute observation from the Magic Screen viewer, and yes, the game on Steam is rated for adults. However, none of the content on the official Steam release sets it any worse than the first live-action Transformers movie. However, just like Transformers, we find ourselves in a conundrum, because with passability comes the need for more. So we take one more hesitant look, and yes, there exist official H-patches of the game, and although I can't show you the content, I will tell you I did spot a handful of scenes where the younger cat girls are performing adult activities, and that is where this fandom goes from weird to whack. So congratulations, you feverish dick beaters, you've unlocked the hidden achievement for pedophilia. 10 gamer score has been added to your secret stash, and if I were you, which I'm not, I would consider storing that stash under a rock, perhaps one by your favorite tree, you know, that tree, and maybe years later when you finally escape and return to that tree, you'll find that box under that rock, and you'll use that gamer score to start over in a distant land where nobody knows who you are or the sins you've committed. Maybe that land is an island. Maybe that island has coconuts. The story. I know, it's everyone's favorite fucking shit, right? You love a good story in a video game. You just fucking love a good story in a video game. As I previously mentioned, I didn't pay too much attention to the story. And in fact, the longer I fixed my attention to it, the more unsure I was of my own sanity. Allow me to give you Cliff Notes edition of Nekopara Volume 4. Nekopara Volume 4 is about the main protag Cashew Mini Duck, struggling to gain Daddy's acceptance because Cashew bakes Western style and Daddy is more into traditional baking. Plus, Daddy Mini Duck has mommy issues, and we like that. The game has you progressing through a very linear storyline and pushing the boundaries of what constitutes $10. Eventually, Cash Cab makes his way to France to hone his baker's craft, and in France with your stepsister and 6 cat girls, you find yourself still having too much personal space and you adopt a 7th cat-eared female person. Her name is Phrase, and she's a Pisces. I actually couldn't tell you her age because even the fandom page couldn't hit me with that assist. For my own health, I'm going to give her a random age. It's going to be completely arbitrary, guys. Completely arbitrary. Alright, let's just make up any number. She's 18. She's 18 years old. Yep, that's 18 human years. I don't give a shit what that is in cat years. With your 7th cat gem acquired, you have it. All of the Nekos in the world. There exists no other Neko outside of your power, and you're now the most powerful protag on the planet. And with your new unlocked potential, you learn the sacred art of petting. This shit is the bomb. Petting is the best part of this game. I don't mean this in a sexual way, but like literally, once I realized I had the second option during dialogue, I quickly shifted my attention from the control key to the mouse to play with my newfound skill. You can pet anyone. Any single person you are talking to is pettable. They don't have to have additional ears atop their head. They only need to have a face with an arm's length of cashnut, and you can smack their face with your electronic hand. It's amazing. I spent about like 5 minutes just like petting people. My favorite people you can pet in the game would be the ones that are actually like your biological family. Your mom and sister moan when you pet them, and that's fucking weird. But your dad, he's a different story. The man you seek to impress, the one who is requesting you get a real job and quit running around all of Japan with your 6 cat people, half of which aren't even adults, that man of countless sage remarks such as "you are a coward," you can pet this man. When you pet your father, he emits a grunt. I love it.
Seriously, I fucking love the shit. So I spent like a few minutes speed click booping my father in the nose so that he couldn't attest to the action causing him distress before finally releasing him from the hellish reality I'd introduced him to, and his only options then was to release one sullen... Anyways, you spend some time in France and find another human adult that is willing to teach you how to bake traditional style. A learned and wise old woman ought to have an appropriate sounding name to boot. Surely they wouldn't give her something fucking stupid like beignet. Café du Monde brings you under her tutelage and assists you in your quest of becoming the world's best master baker. I think. Again, I was speed clicking through most of this. Before you leave to return home to Papa, the French donut herself tells you of the student that got away. And you would care, but you're too busy focusing on that cuddle party you had with your sister in 7 Mouseketeers the night before. You return home just in time for Christmas and prepare a delicious jelly cake for Mama. I realize at this point you may get some characters mixed up because Nekoworks made sure to make both your mother and sister practically identical, so I've worked out a solution to this issue. Above you will see, I say above as if it's not going to be directly in your face. You're going to have 2 images. You have 2 images in your face right now. Do you see them? Here's one on the left, one on the right. You will see your mother and your sister, and if you're worried you may have accidentally struggle-snuggled your mother back in France, let me reassure you it was your sister. You see, Nekoworks are very smart, and they saw this issue a kilometer away. They made one distinct feature to determine which of these doppels is the one you can banger. Your mother is clearly your mother, because her hair is longer, therefore she is older. Allow me to set the mood for the next scene with a poem. And surely I'm gonna get this poem right the first time. I'm not gonna fuck this poem up several times like I've had to fuck up everything else in this You're celebrating Christmas with cheer, not a flaccid cock to be found, when suddenly, out in the foyer comes a sound. A sudden cold gust fills the home. Tension is felt from Osaka to Rome. Coconut stows her handwritten letter to Santa away, as celebration has been cut short on this Christmas day. A man full of unfathomable pain appears, and snowflakes falling turn to sullen tears. Father. Papa Miniduki demands an explanation. After a brief beating, the sort one might find around the bush, Father announces that he didn't want Nutsack to go the same path as he. The twist here is that Beignet is actually Cassius Clay's grandmother. This should have made sense to me because after my petting test I discovered that Father did grunt exactly as Beignet did. So that must mean Father was the student that got away. Well, whatever, I don't give a fuck. Father apologizes to you for being so cold and unapproving of your passions as a man that runs a bakery full of too many feline females, and with that, the story is quickly approaching its epilogue. You return to your bakery and resume pretending that any of this was normal. Just as you're about to hang up your coat to open the shop, who else walks in but your loving sister? She has something for you, and this is the true twist of the entire game. She's made herself into a Neko too! Exciting shit. I took a page out of Father's vast book of grunts and fucking sighed a final breath of relief as a credit screen blinks to title, and that's it. Man, that's the whole game. I skipped over a lot, but I don't know what else you'd expect from someone that's trying to speedrun a graphic novel game. Overall, I would recommend it. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend spending any amount of money on this game, but I do recommend the Steam animated profile background for Cinnamon and Maple, because that's the shit right there, dude. And they're both legal. If I had to give this game a rating, I'd probably say 8 catgirls out of 5, which is too fucking many, and disqualifies Nekopara Volume 4. We return to Japan. The year is 1913, and the last shogun, Tokugawa Yoshinobu, has fallen. His life symbolizes the end of the war against the Nekos, and without a shogun to oppose the Katkins, the power becomes unchecked. The years to follow will be ones of darkness and misery, as the cat girls of Japan reign supreme over a land experiencing new terrors from the outside world. On his final breath, reports speak of Tokugawa requesting one final wish. This land, our land of sunrise and the empire of rebirth, Japan. We fought endlessly. We cannot fight any longer. The enemy has persisted beyond human capacity, and there isn't much left we can do but surrender in disgrace. I leave this land with fear for the people, that they may soon understand the dark arts of Neko. Don't give up on them. Help them to see sunrise once again and be reborn. Shortly after this request, the bearer of the wish left the bedside of the now past shogun and exited somberly to the exterior hallway of the house. The air is crisp, as a soft winter wind swept fallen cherry blossoms across the garden. The bearer looked down in astonishment and pondered how such beauty could ever exist. They inhaled softly. Kawaii desu. Fuck this game.